Hi, I'm Mark from L&M Small Engine. Today we're working on a Generac gp6500e generator. It was used a couple, 2, 3 years ago. They said they used it once and during a storm and they forgot about it. So I smelled the gas. It's just awful. So I'm sure this gas has been in there for 2, 3 years since they used it last. So we're gonna go ahead and take the tank off, clean the tank, more likely clean the carburetor out, and either charge or put a new battery in it to get this going again. So hope you enjoy the video. Okay, we'll go ahead and take the air filter apart first so we can get to the carburetor. I probably have to put a new air filter in that. Looks pretty bad. And we got two 10mm nuts up here, and there's one on the back and the bottom we're going to go ahead and take off. We'll move this vent tube up a little bit, get it out of there to get to that 10mm nut right there. Then we got one on the back side on the bottom. That's also 10mm. And that air filter base should pop off of there. And we'll take this clamp off this gas tank vent over. You can see that's barely hanging on there. Barely hanging on there. I don't know how I'm going to take that off without breaking it. I have to try gluing that or somehow. Even broke right there too. I'm going to try using some JB weld on that or something. If that don't work, I'll just go to probably the Napa store and buy like an elbow and just glue it in there, because that's the vent for the gas tank. Go ahead and take that gasket off. And we're gonna unhook the fuel line off the carburetor, make sure the gas is off, and there's 4 bolts that take this tank off. Them are 12mm. And when I get the tank empty, I'm gonna swish around some acetone in there. So I'm sure there's gunk on the bottom, get it all nice and cleaned off before we put it back on, because if we clean the carburetor out and don't clean the tank, well, all that junk from the tank will more likely get clogged up in the fuel filter or end up in the carburetor. So we're just going to do it right the first time. Okay, there's 4 bolts on top, 2 on each side, and they're 12mm. My tank's pretty much full too. I'll put that in my old gas barrel out back and drain it, make sure it's really clean and everything. Now we can go back to the carburetor. And when I took that air filter base off, I noticed the choke butterfly is gone. And part of that there's 2 pieces of that plastic shaft, and one side's broke off. Hope it didn't get sucked in there. It should. I don't think it would get away from the throttle butterfly. So we have to replace this shaft and put a new butterfly in that. And to take this lever off, it's a standard screwdriver to pop that off. We'll pull this out a little bit. Unhook the governor spring and pop the rod right on out. So we'll take that screw out to get this off, and I'll go find another one of these shafts and a butterfly before we put this back together again. Take that bolt out the bottom and make sure the carburetor is all nice and clean, the jets and everything. So okay, we'll go ahead and take the screw out. Just slide right on out. See, the one side is broke. There's supposed to be like a little slit in here where that choke butterfly goes, and that's totally gone. And that's pretty big. There's no way. Well, I can't. I'm not gonna say no way, but it's highly impossible to get through that little venturi in there. But before I take this bowl off, on stuff like this, I like making a mark so you kind of know how to put the bowl back on, or you just remember like where that drain plug is. And this bolt on the bottom, that's a 14 millimeter. And if these cameras had a smell mode on them, you'd be plugging your nose. Well, it looks kind of clean, but it has that really sticky residue in the bottom. So being this is a generator, and generators can't have no surging or nothing like that, I'm just going to go ahead and boil it out. And we're going to take this pilot jet out that's right here. And we got to take this idler screw out. And just kind of guess on how far that thing screws in there to give you an idea when you put it back together again. And once you get it running, but generators are pretty much set at a certain speed so they get the right RPM for the voltage. And this here will just pop on out of there. That's your pilot jet is. There's a hole here and a hole here, and there's a little itsy bitsy jet right there. And what I like to use on that is like a little wire. I just use part of a flywheel brake cable in and just separate the wires. And just make sure that jet's nice and clean, and you can see the wire in the center of that. So you know that's nice and clean. And take some carburetor cleaner, spray some in there in case there's any debris on the side of it or anything like that. So you know that's nice and clean. And the main jet is right down in here. You can clean that by taking your carburetor cleaner nozzle and stick it in there. And you can see in here how it goes in there. But being this is on a generator, and you don't want no surging on a generator, I'm just gonna boil it out. I'll do that, then I'll find the choke butterfly and the shaft for this carburetor too. Okay, this got out of the boiler. Got it all nice and clean and everything. Put this back together again. We'll do the pilot jet first. That just presses in there. Screw that in, and that's kind of where it was. But like I said, if we need to adjust it, we'll adjust it. And make sure that rubber tip on there is nice and clean on that needle. Get that put in there like that. Then we mark the sides so we know exactly where to put that. Make sure that's your main jet in there. Make sure you plug a hole, squirt carburetor clear in there, and it'll shoot out. Want everything nice and clean. And make sure all the O-rings are in good shape. If the O-rings are in bad shape, go ahead and replace them. Okay, now we'll do that choke. Here's the old one, how the one side was broke off. This is cheap plastic stuff. I found one on an old carburetor. See how there's a slot in the middle? That's what holds that butterfly in there. So go ahead and get that put in there like that. Go ahead and put that in there like that. And make sure it's working. Then we'll put the butterfly in there. And on this butterfly, there's like little divots that are popped out, so it fits in that. Till it locks in place. And make sure it's lined up in there. Just like that. Now we can go ahead and put it back on the machine. So we'll get that started on there, get it on there about like halfway. And we'll pop that pin in there till it clicks. And I'll put the governor tension spring on there. And we go ahead and push down there all the way. Make sure everything's working properly. And the tank's out back, still draining. So we're doing this. I might as well put a new plug in there. And check the oil. The generators usually ain't run that much, so but just check it, make sure it's full of oil. If it's dirty, go ahead and change it. On these particular engines, I believe it's a 1030 oil, but your owner's manual will say. It's almost like a torch plug, but I don't know, the LD is the brand on it. I like using NGK plugs, and you see that was burning kind of rich. Probably because of that air filter. We're going to replace that air filter. So we're going to put a BPR5ES in there. And on these, the gap, I believe, is between 28 and 33. But like I said, check your owner's manual. Get that screwed in there all the way, and we'll get her tight. And we'll pop this on until it clicks. Just like that. Well, I'm going to go out back and check on the tank. And I'm going to switch around some acetone. Okay, I got the gas tank back on. I flushed it out with about a cup of acetone. What I use is lacquer thinner. Flush it out, clean it out. Put 91% octane in it. Put a new filter in there. Glued that little elbow on for that gas vent. tried charging the battery and it wouldn't take a charge, so I put a new battery in there, and I pushed the button, it wouldn't start. So I did a bunch of wire testing and everything, and the switch right here is bad. So I went online and ordered a new switch from Generac, and it should be good to go. So to use a generator and you don't use it for a while, the best thing to do is drain the gas out of it, run the gas out of the carburetor, so when you do need it again, it'll start right up for you when you put fresh gas in there. Anyways, if I still have this one, I get a new switch, I'll start her up for you. I pulled this rope, but that thing pulls so doggone hard. Okay, I worked on this the other day and we got it all tuned up and everything. But I had to order this switch. The switch was bad. So I just put that new switch in. So let's see if we can't get this going. Put the choke on. Got the gas on. There you go. Runs like brand new again. Anyways, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. You have a good afternoon. Bye.